Hello, everybody. You are welcome to the Voice of Reformation. On today's episode, we will be talking about the value of implementation. Now, the Voice of Reformation is brought to you by the New African Concept. We are a Christian organization that is geared towards championing the cause of African Renaissance. And so all of this is about national transformation. So while you are here, I'll encourage you to continue to have that sense of consciousness for a corporate development of our nation. And if you have been following from our other videos, we have been talking on the school of values, because we understand that nations are broken, not because of resources, not because of military conquest, but because of the value systems of its people. And so these things are very, very important that we must focus on and make sure we understand and are practicing on an individual level so that it can multiply and affect the nation on a whole. And so in today's episode, as indicated earlier, we are talking about the value of implementation. The value of implementation. When we say the value of implementation, what exactly are we talking about? I am talking about the ability to get things done. The ability to get things done. Now, you realize that more often than not, we tend to say a lot of things, make a lot of promises. We want to get this done. We want to do this. We are going to do that. We are going to do this. We promise this. We promise that. Yes, I know you're thinking about the politicians, but take a moment. Just take a breather. We'll come to that in a moment. But what we are discussing is this, that concerning the nation of Ghana and Africa at large, if you want to experience the kind of development that all of us have been talking about, that all of us are looking for, then these are some of the things that we must begin to pay attention to. There are many, many other things that we've spoken about. The value of competence and character and significance of purpose and all of that. But in all of these things, the strength of it, the strength of anything, we say that a building is built twice. It's first built in our minds, then with our hands. So the place of implementation is what actually manifests whatever it is that is cooked up in our very intellect and minds and discourses. So when we plan and we think and we generate all forms of ideas and we are unable to implement them, then we are back to square one. And whatever that we thought, whatever we discussed, is unable to manifest. But at the end of the day, the ability to get things done is the most important thing. And so, I'll throw the question to you. If you have two people, one comes up with great ideas, one comes up with wonderful things. We can do this, we can do it this way, we can go about it this way. That's one person. The other comes up with simpler ideas. So we can do it this way, do it that way. And then goes on to get things done. Between these two, which of them would you go for? Which of them would you go to? Right? And you realize that we have so many of these people around us. And it affects us as a nation. Because let's look at some examples. When we look at, we've had a constitution review, right? Many people have been calling out for a reform and a review of our constitution, and there are things in there that we need to change and all of that. Great, fine. There are certain things we should consider. So there was a committee set up, and there were discourses had, and there were investments made, huge amounts of money. Great minds were put to use to bring up ideas and to suggest reforms and things like that. All of that was done. This was back in, 2011, 2012. But up until now, what has been done? Did you ever hear of any reform in our constitution? No, I did not. And I don't think you did. And that is a typical example. So that we have the Vision 2020, right? Yeah. So we're talking about it. And this was formed way back in 1995 concerning a place Ghana was supposed to get to by the year 2020. But at the end of the day, it all became talk. And that's just what happens. When people talk and talk and talk and are unable to execute, Eventually, what happens is that, number one, trust is broken. We are unable to trust you anymore because what you say, you're unable to do, or unwilling to do, or incapable of executing. Right? So trust is broken. Again, there is a wastage of resources, of our investment, the material resources, the time, energy that was put into generating these ideas. When the time that was set to do these things is gone, then we have to meet again and then go through the whole process. And that is a wastage of not just you and I, our taxpayers' money and our resources we put into the nation, but other things that we could have really spent our time on. And so when we don't value implementation and give the right kind of attention to it, then these are the forms of consequences that comes upon us as individuals and as a nation. And eventually, when you're unable to implement, it dissolves your resolve to get things done. You said you were going to do this. It got there, you couldn't do it. You see, the longer it takes you to execute, the stronger the inertia or contention to actually continue with what you want to do. So these are things that are affecting us as a nation, as a whole. And you would attest to it. And so on a personal level even, you realize that on the 31st night, the famous 31st night, where all of us, many of the Ghanaian population, go to church and we are making promises and we are believing God and promising ourselves that we are going to be better in the next year. It becomes a lot of talk. So we write things down, we discuss things, we say a lot of things. But when it comes to the place of implementation, there is a problem. Now, I would like to encourage you. You see, it can be done and it must be done. There are certain things that must be implemented, that must be executed. And so when they are not put in place, it delays generations because we don't have all the time. And so in getting things done, we must begin to look at certain factors and certain things that can help us to get in the position to implement the things that we need to get done. And so in going about these things, we must begin to consider the place of planning. The place of planning. The fact that you must be a person of action does not mean that you take spontaneous steps without first thinking about them. So we must sit down and plan. But we must understand that planning is not the end. Planning is not all there is. You see, there is a form of illusion that comes upon us when we have planned towards something we want to do. Because planning is an effort. So when you plan, it makes you feel as though I have done something about what I want to get done. And if you're not careful, it can make you begin to relax. So when these things happen, it is because you have not considered the full picture of what needs to be done. So we must take time to put things in place, measure, consider the key performance indicators, consider the anticipated challenges, take time to plan. And when you have done that, you understand that this is part of the process. The planning is part of the process. And the planning must be done right for the execution to be efficient. And that's a very key thing. When you don't plan right, then the implementation becomes difficult. And it can make you to give up easily. So you take time to plan right and consider all the things that will be needed, the resources, the help, the challenges you'll be facing and all of that. It keeps you in the position to implement right. So now when you are done with the plan, for instance, before I move on, when we come to Ghana and the things we need to get done, one thing that seems to be missing in understanding the value of implementation is that we don't consider the fullness of the place of planning. So we plan inefficiently and we plan in sections and half. So we don't understand the full picture and it makes the implementation difficult. So now the politicians come in. So we are reading manifestos, but it is because we want to be voted in power. We are not considering the full picture. Am I really stating things that I can get done, or I'm saying things or stating things that will just get me into power? So these are some of the things that pertain to implementation. So now, beyond planning, we must come to the place of certain things, even like accountability. Right. So you must find someone you'll be accountable to. Find someone that you will be able to submit your plans to, your desire, the things you want to get done, so that the person checks up on you and keeps you on your toes to be able to get things done. Now, when it comes to accountability, it is not automatic. You must allow yourself to be accountable. And this some of the places where certain values we've discussed already, even like the value of character, comes in. This is where you must step down your high horses and consider and understand that you must subject yourself to accountability, which leads us to the place of even criticism. So when you allow yourself to be accountable and to be transparent, what that does is that it keeps you on your toes, and it keeps the game fair, so that everybody understands and knows exactly what is going on. So as a nation, in every aspect we find ourselves, whether you are an employee, whether you are an employer, whether you are in the political field, whether you are in the science field, you must give room for others to also inspect your work and your plans and ambitions, and help you to shape in things so that execution can become easier. Because it is not about, you see, when you consider that I can do it myself, I don't need any form of help. In the Ghanaian parlance, there's an adage that goes that in the English version, we say that he that is marking a path does not see, how crooked it may be behind him. So when you have someone that is checking up on you, following up on you, he can begin to correct you, say, oh, this thing you are doing, you can do it this way. You can implement it in this particular direction. These are the things that help us begin to make things easier. Now, beyond accountability, we must step off the place of perfection. And so in this aspect, you must understand that, you see, James Clear, the author of the book Atomic Habits, makes us understand that if you improved 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than you were at the beginning of the year. And so 1% every day. So it is not about perfection. It is about getting things done. What you do is that when you are able to do things and get things done, it gradually increases your capacity and desire to get even more things done. So while I'm speaking to you individually, this goes out to the entire nation and Africa at large. Let us start with the little things. Let us not, jump right onto the bigger things and things that look so superfluous and the things that we want to impress people with. Start with the little. Start small. So you want to transform Ghana. That is big. We all want to see that change. But let us start with the little things that we can implement. Begin with your individual life. That change you want to make in your personal life, start it little by little. Start being time conscious. So you want to get to a place. You want to start being conscious. You want to start being active in certain things. What you do is that you start little by little. So start by being 5 minutes earlier. Continue to be 10 minutes earlier. Continue to be 15 minutes earlier. And as you do this, eventually it becomes a habit. Eventually implementing these things becomes easier for you. So these are some of the ways to go about implementing or cultivating the value of implementation, getting things done. When you do it from the little things, then when you are put in a position where millions of people are depending on you, you are not handicapped. You are not unable to not get things done. Because as you began, then you have that capacity and that drive to be able to get things done on a larger scale. And this is what we need as a nation. So we want to, be Ghana beyond aid. We don't start by doing the mighty things. It doesn't take big things. Let us start small. What are the industries in the country that we can begin to explore? What are those aspects in our regions that we can begin to work on? Yes, we want the government to work on our sanitation problem. We want the government to work on the education problem. Yeah, begin from where you are. So in your community, Start by clearing the rubbish. Start by clearing the refuse in your house. Then you can talk about, what is happening on the outside. Because when you lack the value of implementation, it deprives you of the moral right to talk about things that are not being done. So this is how we must begin to approach things going forward. Look at things from the onset. So there is an issue on a national front. You want to address it. But as an individual, are you addressing the things in your home? Are you addressing the things that are around you? Right. So take that moment to start personal implementation. As we do that, eventually it will lead to that national development. And so I'd like to encourage you to cultivate the value of implementation. As you watch this video, I encourage you, do well to share with your friends. Encourage them. We are doing this together. Ghana will get better. But if it will get better, it comes by a collective effort. So remember this, that it is not about the talk. We've all been complaining about how Ghana has been this and has been that and has been all that. Let us focus more on the solutions. Let us focus more on the implementation. Where can we start from? What can I do as a person? What can I do as an individual to contribute my little quota to the development of the nation of Ghana? And so this is a charge I will leave you with. You see, this man says, Frederick Angel, he says that, you see, just a tone of action is better than an ounce of theory. So just one step is what is needed to be taken. Take that one step. Consider the aspects of your life. Consider your home, your family. What one thing can you do to make a change right now? As we do that, it would multiply eventually, and all of the nation will have that ripple effect of change. So thank you for tuning in. This has been the Voice of Reformation. We have been speaking on the value of implementation. I will encourage you, if you have not been following us, to certainly do so. We have started this series that is going to be running for a while, and we'll be teaching and helping people understand what these things are. So follow us, like this video, comment on it, let us know what you think. Is this something that is driving you? How is it making you feel? What are the thoughts that are coming into mind? As we take these steps and we share with our friends, we believe that communally we can begin to make the right kind of change. I believe in Ghana. We all believe in the change in Ghana. So should you. Thank you for joining in on this segment. See you next time.